After dinner I sat and waited for Pyle in my room over the Rue Cadenas. He had said, "I'll be with you at latest by 10." And when midnight struck I couldn't stay quiet any longer and went down into the street. A lot of old women in black trousers squatted on the landing. It was February and I suppose too hot for them in bed. One trishaw driver pedaled slowly by towards the riverfront, and I could see lamps burning where they had disembarked the new American planes. There was no sign of Pyle anywhere in the long street. Of course, I told myself, he might have been detained for some reason at the American legation, but surely in that case he would have telephoned to the restaurant. He was very meticulous about small courtesies. I turned to go indoors when I saw a girl waiting in the next doorway. I couldn't see her face, only the white silk trousers and long flowered robe, but I knew her for all that. She had so often waited for me to come home at just this place and hour. Who's Batman's soulmate? Like, you know, in the Batman series, it's almost like a running joke. Even like within the amount of women he dates, the amount of women that, Bruce Wayne philanders around with, almost like James Bond. Hypermasculinity exerting itself against a force it doesn't understand. Just like James Bond. He's always has like someone around his arms, and it's always arm candy. It's never really, it always fails. Every fucking movie's got a new fucking girlfriend, pretty much, from the Tim Burton ones. Even from Batman Begins to Dark Knight, the actress who plays Rachel switches. I mean, that's just what it was, But it's almost kind of this interesting metatext. So again, an obvious point. Here's his soulmate. Here's his real soulmate. Batman's soulmate is Selina Kyle. Catwoman's soulmate is Bruce Wayne. Now, if you notice, they seldom, they're either in costume or out. There's a few times where it's, half in between. That's what the Batman Returns, that's what it means. Remember at the end, Batman Returns is a great movie. Remember at the end how everyone's mask comes off? Everyone's mask comes off. It gets ripped off. Selina's entire outfit that she stitched together becomes eroded, and they finally see each other for who they are. The Penguin finally just... Give me something cool to drink. Penguin's not the real villain of Batman Returns. Who is the real villain of Batman Returns? It's obviously Max Schreck. It's always Christopher Walken, except in The Deer Hunter. It's always Christopher Walken. He's always the villain. And Max Schreck is the villain because Max Schreck is the businessman. And he's the one who gets his face completely... You thought Gus Fringe was bad. Now that's a face-off. Why, though? Why is Selina Kyle Catwoman, Bruce Wayne Batman, both destined for love, but also destined to destroy each other? It's because they make beasts of themselves, and they've forgotten who they were. There's a missing piece from both of them that was stolen, and they see in one another, kindred spirits, but also they realize that dance is always going to be elusive because it's always going to be trauma bonding. As long as they are in Gotham, they will always have to put that mask on. That's why, again, at the end of The Dark Knight Rises, for them to have a chance to be in love, they have to live in that myth, that little narrative that Alfred kind of spun for himself, Trapped in the Trap House, chapters 1 through 33. The Barathon continues. One of my father's all-time classic stories. Keep in mind, Catholic schoolboy, raised in this weird, Seems like Peggy was real cool and open, but, old Grandpa Danny Boy probably was a bit of a prick. A little, everybody's a prick. That's just who you are. My father, again, like me, kind of always just could do what he wanted, unlike me, he lost his virginity very early. I believe he was 12, 13 even, I was 19. So before he even had his first sip of beer, he, had his first taste of that other sort of intoxicating, besotment. So my father was always a horny motherfucker. And now I'm realizing, oh, okay, well, obviously all the hardcore drug use, especially that, heroin, boom, boom, up, down, down, down. Like, that's why he just, so much fucking porn, so much just fucking, this weird, like, hey man, how you going, sister? But that was like part of him, I think, from the get. Even before the drugs, he was just like, he was a sap. He was just not just like, about his dick, but he would create this myth, these love songs. And again, most of them I couldn't find them. Like love letters and all these things, it's like the band. Makes no difference. All your love letters, I just couldn't keep them. Just like the gambler says, read them and weep. Shape I'm in, indeed, So he couldn't keep them. He could not keep them. But he still, like, always had this swing. So back to the story. He's, I forget what year it is, but he's early in his youth Catholic career. Now, this had been when the Aerosmith song, Big 10-inch, came out. So, whenever that was. Again, Aerosmith, holy fucking shit. And it's funny because I remember my parents. I could close my eyes. Like, they love that song. That song made them fall back in love with one another because it's fucking just a song by a fucking back and forth hardcore drug addict, creating these myths. So it was a good song, Big 10-inch. So my father and, like, smaller the crew, the competitions you'd have to do, you still do, where it's like, whoever can sell the most, whoever can be the biggest capitalist, the pyramid schemes. The pyramid schemes you make our kids fall into, So him and his group, they sold the most magazines, and these Catholics said, okay, you do this, we're gonna, in the morning announcements, the old school morning announcements where they would put on the old records, usually every day they'd play a song. It'd probably usually be, onward Christian soldiers, some fucking bullshit. But my father's team won. So they would say, hey, any song you want. No, they didn't do the due diligence. I didn't actually take time to listen to the song beforehand. So my father gets them. This is his plan. Because he knows the song. And he's probably maybe 14, 15, I don't know exactly how old he is. And I might never know. So he gives him the record. Alright? Now, my big 10-inch, it's about the size of a record, 10-inch record, but clearly it's also a metaphor for a 10-inch dick, which Steven Tyler had a huge dick. Father had a huge dick. Shit happens. So the song, the very first line is, suck on my big 10-inch record of, and then there's a pause and it goes, record of the band that plays the blues, and it doesn't even get one. Literally, when it gets the way he tells it, it gets the suck on my big 10-inch. Like, the stereotype, the trope, and I always wanted to recreate this, and I one time accidentally did when like a DJ thing skipped, and I was in the middle of one of my fucking insane rambles about fucking some kind of bullshit, and I was overheard. But no, that ain't nothing. My father actually literally had the thing where, and they all fucking punished. They were probably fucking beat. But it was worth it, man. Everybody was dying laughing, man. That's a great fucking joke over the entire sound system of a Catholic school. Talking about, suck on my huge dick. Like, that's the real work right there, But it wasn't always funny, My father, him chasing Daisy was what got him, But for a while, I believe, was celibate when he was an athlete. I don't have the time to get into all the details because, again, my father's just... But... Now, keep in mind, he was a better basketball player than he was baseball, but he was an amazing baseball player, too. To the point where not only did he... In, 1975, and it was Class M, but they won the state championships. And also, down the line, when my father was trying to, regain his... Oh my God, he's wearing a nice suit jacket in this. Undefeated. The girls give much tribute to first-year coach John Bridge and assistant coach Bill Moffitt. In addition to their knowledge of softball, they also knew how to control the ever-popular lackadaisical disease known as spring fever. A past problem for the girls. Deep mental pressure was building in their minds throughout the whole season. There was no letting up for even a minute, at practice or in a game. Nevertheless, the girls stuck it out and ended up with a very successful record, and that's why all the effort is all worth it. Yes, they had fun working too. And that's what sports are all about. He did it. He did it. And this is why, honestly, I was so freaked out when I saw that Hartford's police chief, Jason Thody, was like, he was like 18 or 19, and he was the coach of a softball team with 11 and 12-year-olds, girls. And then later on, he marries a girl that he coached. There's a 6-year age difference between them, but he coached a girl who he, at that time, I'm just using my creative imagination, he fell in love with, and then tutored and so trust me, my father, I heard him say these stories about these girls. He's a pervert. He's a pervert. I don't think he did nothing, but I don't know that. He's got a lot of skeletons, But yeah, he was a great athlete. He was an amazing athlete. Basketball, you know how he got good? It's Black History Month. Thin white dude wasn't gonna get fucking good playing with a bunch of fucking Catholic fucking little white men, He would go, and from a young age, and against the wishes of his racist father, he would go to the north end of Hartford. Alright, he'd go from fucking 73 William Street, where we used to live, off of Burnside, and he'd go to the north end of Hartford. And the way he tells these stories are, smacked with a lot of problematic, but he would play. He would play with black basketball players from the streets from the very beginning, man. And he would tell me how they would fuck him up at the beginning. They would fuck him up. He'd be like, oh my God, they didn't cut their nails. And, one time I was playing basketball in the pool in high school, trying to, and I was getting smoked. I think it was against Doug Wiggins, who, that's a different story, but Doug Wiggins was the Bill Moffitt of his year, pretty much. And I remember they getting scratched by them and bleeding. So oh, my father was a point. But I never cut my nails either, and probably he didn't either. But so you only notice it when it's on the other side. But that's not the point. The point is my father would fucking get his ass kicked at a young age. But he chose to break out of his comfort zone, to go to a place where he wasn't wanted. But he loved basketball. He loved basketball. Bailey Howell. He loved basketball. And he didn't see it as a black or a white thing. He saw it as a sport where anybody, with gifts. He had gifts, look at just a long arm. My dad's a little bit taller than me, or maybe he was before, he shrunk down a bit. But this dude pulled himself from the gutter. Accidentally through this weird class solidarity. And so therefore he's able to, not just when he's Catholic is facing, black teams, but when he went on to Worcester Academy. He got in Worcester Academy for a little bit. He lived across from where Abby Hoffman lived. All right? He's playing basketball for them. He's playing basketball for Springfield College, all right? So, I don't have time to get into it right now what happened, but I'm gonna. I know what you're thinking. Alright, well, this is all well and good, but you've been showing a lot of photographs. You've been making a lot of, and isn't Nickelback Canadian? Wouldn't that be just, are you really... You're not gonna end this with a sing-along to Nickelback's photograph, are you? That would... Come on, bro. You're doing good. Don't risk it all for that joke. Listen, I'm not gonna do that, alright? I swear. On my father's 1975... East Catholic High School Championship, and I'm not going to do that. Believe me.